It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out, episode 322. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. So, where to start?
Start with food prep.
With food prep is where you want.
That's where I want to start.
You want to start with what do you want to tell me about your food prep?
No. We're going to talk about your food prep.
I prep my food just like Angelo wants me to.
Yeah, well,
that's the end of the story. I would have nothing more interesting to say about that topic.
It's definitely not the end of the story. This week got real interesting, and I want you all to keep in mind this type of thing happens often at our house. Not always Tom. Usually it's his son.
So I've mostly outgrown things like this, but my son has it in spades because it's how I was when I was that age. So I was meal prepping, and so I tend to eat the same thing every day. That's not what MetPro tells people to do. It's how I utilize MetPro. That's the choice I make. So I tend to make this concoction I make taco meat, and then I pour ragu on it and mix in cheese, and I mix it all together, and it kind of tastes like chili, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I have for lunch every day. So I'll make like 2 pounds of taco meat and then measure it out. So I'm done for a week and a half or whatever, right? So I'm making it all, and I have a jar of ragu that's like half full, and I have a brand new jar of ragu. So like I start with the old jar of ragu, pouring it in, and then I had opened the other one so it was ready to go, and I started pouring it in, measuring out like the amount that I want, and then it runs out because it's only half full, and I'm making like 12 of the things or something, and then I go to grab the other one, and it's a brand new thing of ragu, right? So you got to shake that up, and I go to shake it up, and I realize I had already taken the lid off of it. And so I'm like standing in the kitchen looking like Sissy Spacek in the last scene of Carrie.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like.
Or in the opening scene of Carrie, I thought you were going to throw tampons at me. I was just covered. I look like a crime scene. The whole kitchen is covered in ragu. And it was like, what, half the bottle?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't quite half because we have ginormous little cans of ragu. Like, it's like 44 ounces. So it wasn't half, but it was a lot.
It was sizable. There was not one article of clothing that I didn't have ragu on.
And he's counting t-shirt, jeans,
hoodie,
socks. And the hoodie I had to take off of, like, he couldn't even move. It was in his goatee.
It was on my face.
It was on his head. It was everywhere. He just stood there while I undressed him. I took off his hoodie and I put it straight in the washer. And
my face was covered in ragu, like I had starred in some sort of fan fiction Mario Brothers porno. It was crazy town.
Moral of the story, don't shake the jar unless you know the jar is closed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or have Crystal do your food prep.
I had to do the cleanup.
Yes.
You left the room to go clean yourself.
Because I was covered in it.
I know.
I was covered.
And then actually, I have to give credit where credit is due. Brian did help clean that up. So,
because he wasn't in a panic.
Yeah, if it
had
was
been him, he would have been frozen like a deer in the headlights.
That kid, since I met him, I remember the first time that he spilled milk. And he just stood there. We all were like, clean it up.
Yeah.
Like all of us. And he's just standing there looking at the tidal wave of milk. And he's
covered in milk.
Stared at it.
Coining a classic Brianism. I milked myself.
Which he still uses.
He still says.
To this day.
Oh,
he
goodness.
just milked himself the other day.
Yes. So
never a dull moment in the O'Keefe household.
I feel like we just got an explicit rating in the Apple Podcast Store.
And we have one of those refrigerators that has like pictures and you can do like little sticky notes.
Write notes and stuff. Yeah.
So Sydney, what does Sydney do? She goes and makes a sticky note. It says, we have a whole list of Brianisms.
Brian quotes.
And she put, I milked myself this morning.
Dash.
Brian O'Keefe.
Brian O'Keefe.
Anyway.
Hey, thanks to everyone from the Patreon group that came and hung out with us on Friday. We had a Zoom call for Patreon members. That was a blast. And we also last week released our first clipped out bonus episode for the Patreon, which was free to everybody. So if you want to know what that sounds like, and you can go over there and listen to that first one for free. It doesn't cost you a thing. We don't ask for your credit card number. Although if you want to send it to us, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
But we're not asking for it. And we're basically, there's so much stuff coming at us, and we're trying to keep these things a little shorter. And so we're still talking about things, but some of the less, I hate to say important, but but let's just say the less important, the lesser big news we'll be discussing over there, so we can kind of keep this. Another way
to look at it is we're trying to focus on the stories that enhance your experience with the bike, or the tread, etc., instead of just like a bunch of word vomit. So we're trying to kind of find that find a balance.
Strike a balance.
Yeah.
So what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
Well, let's see. We're going to talk about what's going on with the Power Zone. Basically, Peloton has a lot of features that are coming out. So we're going to talk about all of those.
Right.
And we're also going to be talking about an interesting now hiring that we saw.
Okay.
We have a stop, if you will, from Dr. Jenn. And we talk about, I love this topic, what to do when an instructor upsets you. Either something they said directly to you on a live, maybe they just said something in class you disagreed with, but we got you covered either way.
For sure.
We have a bunch of stories about what's going on with the instructors. We also have a visit from Angelo. Is there a benefit to doing multiple shorter workouts instead of one longer workout? We have a celebrity discussion, new content we're going to go through, and also an In Case You Missed It segment, plus birthdays.
And who are we talking to this week?
We are talking to Jokotifa.
Okay.
She is an amazing writer, and she came across our
purview?
Yeah, because
radar?
Radar, perfect. When I was looking for people to write for the website, she came up and she was like, I would love to do this, but we really need people for during the day. And she has a very busy, demanding day job. And so we started, when we went through the list of all the people who reached out, we just kind of looked into all their background, a little bit of understanding of who they were.
Credit checks, things like that.
Exactly.
Had FBI swing by, ask them some questions.
Totally. Yeah. Well, after we had the FBI review, we were looking, and Jokotifa, she has a blog all about how to prepare and deal with death. It's called Morning Space. Morning as in
with a U.
With a U, yes. And she's just a really excellent writer, but also the subject matter itself kind of fascinated us because you don't see a lot of people talking about these things.
For sure.
And of course, she's a huge Peloton fan. So all of that brought her onto the show.
Awesome. And it's a fascinating talk. It's not maudlin. So don't feel like
no.
Oh, I don't want to, I really enjoy talking to her. So
me too.
So awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's always super helpful. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And if you just don't have enough Clip Out in your life, you can get even more if you join our Patreon. You now get a bonus episode every week, a companion episode of all the things we didn't have time to fit into this episode. It'll be over there waiting for you. Also, the episodes will be ad-free, and when we get them early, you get them early. So there's all that benefit for you. So if you want to go check that out at patreon.com/theclipout. Of course, we have a YouTube channel where you can watch these episodes at youtube.com/theclipout. Also, finally, we throw a lot of links at you during an episode, and you can get a complete listing of those links if you join the newsletter at the newly redesigned theclipout.com. So
It's so pretty.
it's very nice. So there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Peloton in the news.
We have an update in the world of Power Zone stuff.
Yep.
You can now get performance graphs in your workout history.
Yeah, which I really should have seen coming after they made those pretty graphs for the rowing. Because the rower had all these graphs come out that were basically like, how well did you stay in your zone? That's exactly what Power Zone is. I should have seen this coming. But
we need something like this for Facebook comments. How well did you stay in your zone? Like
they would always be read.
this comment you made, it's none of your damn business, whatever you're saying. This graph will show you how much not of your business it was.
Yeah, there's some people I could share that with. That's for sure. But so many lovely people that I interact with as well.
Also true.
So
they would get a very positive graph.
They would.
Yeah.
They would. Well, what I like about this graph is that it's rainbow colored. I will never not like the rainbows. But I also really like the visual of being able to see exactly how you covered your zones. There's a few of these different kinds of graphs out there. They all show up in your workout history. So if you haven't seen them yet, my understanding is not everybody has it, but also not everybody had it last week as of yet. Please make sure that you have the latest update on any of your equipment if you are looking for this information. It should have made it its way to you by now.
So do you think this is just kind of here's a little thing we did for Power Zone and then move on? Or do you think we'll see more Power Zone related tweaks get baked into the app and the equipment?
It's a really good question. I think that they might be adding more. My thought process is that Team Wilpers, for the first time ever, is doing a Power Zone challenge, which is just kind of fascinating, given that, he used to be very heavily involved in Power Zone Pack. For all I know, he still is. I have no idea.
Right.
But this just seems like a new kind of version of that. So for people who haven't found their way to the Power Zone Pack and maybe you're with Team Wilpers, this is another way to get your challenge on. But the reason that I think that maybe we're going to see more is because there's more coming from Matt about this. So that just kind of leads me in that direction. But who knows? It's hard to say. And even if we do, it could be months.
Everyone has been super excited, or not everyone, a lot of people have been super excited about the ability to view different streaming platforms on their device, a setup that's currently in beta, so not everyone has it. Not everyone has all the same things. But this week, people started to get Disney Plus on their Peloton.
Yeah, so this is, I'm pretty excited about this one because I love to watch the Nature Channel shows and Tom does not.
They just bore me.
Yeah, they bore him.
I'm like, yep, there's another giraffe.
Meanwhile,
just over there giraffing.
I could watch little baby animals do cute, adorable things all day. And so I haven't tried it yet, but I think that this is something I could totally get into. This Disney Plus and Netflix were both the ones that I was super excited about. So I'm really glad both of them have shown up.
My Disney Plus show lately has been Locked Up Abroad.
You mean Banged Up Abroad?
Well, I don't like to brag. But yes, we talked about this a week or two ago. But yeah, that it's funny how they're all basically the same story, and yet each one is riveting in its own unique way.
Well, if nothing else, the people telling you the story, I can't look away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, are you high right now?
Yeah.
I like to play that game.
Yeah. Some of them you have to wonder, but
you do. I love that show. Now, see, I think I'd get bored doing my bike in that, though.
I get that. Android users now have home screen widgets.
So this is very exciting for Android users because the iOS users got this quite a while back. It's been several months. So I say several months. I know that seems like a long time to wait for Android users, but given that when I was an Android user, it was literally years.
It was bad.
This is a quick turnaround.
It was. I think they realize, especially if their whole thing now is we're an app company that happens to have equipment sometimes, if you want to go down that road, then that app needs to be fully functional on all devices.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go, well, the app's just a bonus, and if it works on your phone, great, and if it doesn't, whatever, it's the bike that you really bought. They can't say that anymore. So even though this is very quick based on historical measures, it's probably still not as quick as it should be.
I would agree with that too. I will say it's always going to be harder for Android. There's just so many different packages that you have to test for and be prepared for. I also wanted to point out, just because I've heard a lot of chatter about it, that people have been reporting since this update came out, they can no longer filter. This is only on Android users, filter on their classes, and that they are having trouble with their Strive score. Now, this was reported last night, so Tuesday night. By Wednesday, 90% of people were saying this was resolved, although there are still some naysayers over on the OPP.
What?
I know. It's shocking.
Negativity on the OPP?
I know.
They should call it the no PP.
So if you are one of those people and you are still experiencing issues, number one, try re-updating your phone. And number two, please reach out to the Peloton customer service, because that is not supposed to be the outcome of this update. It's not what is being planned, and it should not be showing up. So if you're still seeing issues with that, reach out to them, not to me.
Yes.
And have them help you. Help them help you.
There we go.
Got it.
The monthly email blasts from Peloton are getting a new look.
Yeah, so we've got all new colors. We've got a whole new thing. So instead of being like, here's your monthly overview, it's like, ooh. And then they show your monthly trends. They show how far you've come. I really love emails like this. Like I love being able to see this month compared to last month. I love knowing if I hit new numbers, if I did new things. So it's cool. It's also neat that they have like a new subject line for it. I don't remember what it said, but like something like, let's see what you've been up to in the last month or something. It just kind of, it's a little more hip, a little more like getting your attention. I know that it's been a while since we talked about Peloton kind of changing up their marketing and rebranding everything, but clearly this is part of that. And it's pretty cool to see. I love seeing the little things that stand out to me personally. I also noticed today that Peloton is starting to show up on influencer accounts. So now you might see a video from an influencer and they start talking about how they fit Peloton into their day. Saw one today and I can't remember the name.
Like Monet Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's got like 1 million followers. So I'm sure that wasn't a cheap collaboration. And I think it's pretty cool that Peloton is leaning into this, because I think that it's going to open it up to people that are, we were talking amongst ourselves within the writer group, and somebody said this is probably aiming toward younger people and more diverse than just like, white people.
Right.
And I think that's true. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a real vibe around Peloton with the kids today that like, oh, Peloton is something
that your mom does.
That your mom does. And so I think they're trying to like kill that with a bat.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is a good way to do that. So we will keep an eye on how this changes over time.
Peloton announced this week that they're having a first timer Fridays at PSNY.
Yeah, so apparently this started in July, but we noticed this month it happened again. So now we're assuming, and it is a big assumption, this is just going to be a thing.
It's a repeating event.
Yes. So a lot of you had questions. How do they choose the people? I don't know. I don't have answers to that. What I will tell you is the only thing that I know for sure is a requirement is that you've never been to the studio. If you've never done a live class in studio, you could be invited regardless of where you live. This is happening to people in all states, all ages, etc. So if you've never been, keep a lookout. Make sure you don't have these go into your junk mail, and you could be one of the lucky people to get to go.
So what happens if you get an invite but you live in Cleveland? It's like
you either make a quick flight or you don't go.
Yeah, I mean it's nice that they're extending this offer to people who don't just live in the tri-state area for sure, but it also feels like if you live in Oregon, it's probably kind of a worthless invite.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how much advance notice you get.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
also I don't think most people probably have the luxury of like, oh yeah, let me book a flight so I can do a Peloton in studio class.
I mean, that's probably true, but I don't know what else Peloton can possibly
For
do.
sure. Like, I'm not even trying to shit on it.
There's a lot of people that are. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to walk that back
Yeah.
because there's been a lot of negativity around here's the thing. Everyone complains that it's the same 5 people they see in class every
Sure.
week. And this is a way that Peloton is going out of their way to get out of that rut. Can they help that other people can't come? No, they can't. I mean,
Right.
it's a fair point. I just don't know what they can do about it.
I mean, they can't start handing out flights. I mean, I totally get that. I was just wondering if there was any sort of way, or, I wonder if behind the scenes, if you're like, hey,
can I get a rain check?
I'm going to be there in 3 months. Could I maybe do that?
Well, I have no idea if they would do that, but I know that they're pretty darn nice. So if they have the ability to, they'll probably do their best to help you out.
Yeah.
You know?
But I do think ultimately it's good that they're doing something to try and, as someone who grew up a nerd, I'm always in favor of someone helping out virgins.
I knew you'd see it my way.
And thank you for your assistance.
You're welcome.
You now have weekly plans on the guide.
Yeah, personalized plans.
Personalized weekly plans on the guide.
Yeah, this is interesting. So we know this has been testing on the guide for a while. There's some mixed feelings about this. I think that it might be a bit early for us to get super excited about it, but I like the potential. I like where we're headed. So in theory, you go into your guide and you tell it, this is how many times a week that I want to work out. This is how experienced of a lifter, a strength exerciser I am. And also, I want to work out with weights or not with weights. I mean, those are some basic questions. And then every Monday, they will release a new plan for you that shows you here's some options for you. So I'm very curious to see when we kind of get to the next level. I'm seeing a lot of things coming back. The classes themselves are great. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I am hearing that people that are using this, they are real heavy on one instructor, and then they'll be real light on another instructor. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of smartness in the system yet to figure out, 1, how to mix that up more, but 2, how to figure out instructors you're already working out with. And maybe their point is to get you to work out with different instructors. I don't know. We don't really know what their algorithm is, but I think that it needs a little bit of tweaking before we can be really excited. But I love the direction they're headed, and I'm glad that we have another new feature to talk about.
And as rapidly as AI is taking over the world, you got to think that this is only going to get better faster.
Hey, Barry's big thing was we're going to personalize everything on Peloton. He was that's our goal. And this is a very definite step in that direction. Love seeing it.
They also made some updates to Peloton Gym this week.
They did. Now they are going to specify how to complete unilateral movements, right side, left side, alternating or simultaneous, and they're going to be providing clearer direction on the rounds and the movements required for a gym ladder movement group. All of that to say you're getting more specific details in your workout. And so that's really nice for people who are using this who aren't already experts at the gym.
For sure.
And they're looking for more direction, which is great. So love seeing it.
And finally, for this segment anyway, it's officially back to school season. And you and the Helper Bees over at theclipout.com put together a list of some of the best apps for back to school. Of course, one of them would be Peloton.
Of course. But, I have to say that if we make it through this week without me, fighting... your son is going to kill me. I'm not sure I can make it.
Yeah, it's been a lot. He leaves for school in 2 weeks, and he's still,
the emotions are everywhere.
Yes, it's still pulling teeth to get him to pack. And it's dude, you are going across the country. We live in St. Louis, and he's going to school in Connecticut. And I'm you got to go. Get your stuff together, literally.
Well, I don't have an app for that, but I do have some apps that are great for whether they're younger students, older students. Of course, yes, like you said, Tom, Peloton is on this list because if you are a family member of somebody that has a Peloton, great, you would be able to use that. But let's say that it's a college student and they are starting off to go to college and they don't have all the things. Well, now they can take the Peloton app with them and get a student discount. Also, one of my favorite apps I have used for years is Evernote. So you can take notes, and this is good for whether you want to study, whether you want to attach photos, files, whether you're doing this for class or whether you're using it for a project you're working on. I've done it for both, and it's amazing. I love the fact that you can use this on your iPad and you can use your stylus to write directly in it, and making notes, making files, adding files. It's so fast and easy, and being able to share it across multiple devices is fantastic. But we have tons of apps in this list that I highly recommend that you check out. Hashtag not an ad. This is just the
a
love
collection of things you dig.
Yeah. And not just me, all of our writer bees are helper bees included in there as well.
Peloton now hiring.
We saw lots of job posting this week. A lot of them were for various showrooms, which I think we're supposed to call stores now,
yes,
right?
Yeah, they're stores now.
One was a couple were over in the UK. One was in Long Beach. So I guess the Long Beach store is safe for a little bit. But we also saw this one, manager of music and content partnerships.
Now, selfishly, I kind of hoped that Tom would dig it and like he would just get this job.
Well, I think based on the fact that you need to live in New York and what they're paying, it would be a pay cut.
I know.
Also,
I thought maybe you could convince him to work from home. You know.
I think I could do this, but I also I don't already work in this end of the world, so I don't know that they would want me for that. I know a person. There's a lady I'm thinking of who would be really good for this, but I'm guessing they can't afford her. She ain't gonna work for this.
No, she is not. But anyway, I love this whole role, the manager of music and content partnerships. The reason that I think it's fun and exciting is it shows that Peloton is continuing to grow these partnerships and continuing to do fun things with it, because it also talks about how to get the most out of this marketing wise and how to get the most bang for your buck for these things. So I think we're going to be able to see. It says member growth and engagement partnership. So I think that means we're going to see more cool stuff happening with the music we're already getting. Like the photo booths we reported last week. One of the things, the perks from that was that whenever there is an artist collaboration and you're there, you're going to be able to have pictures of you and the artists. Like the artwork is one of the things you can choose from. I mean, that's fun.
Yeah.
That makes it neat. So I think you're going to be seeing more things like this. And I like highlighting that.
See, what I think they should do, this is the job I should have.
Okay.
I should have this job, but instead of for music, it should just be for pop culture.
Oh my God,
I feel
yeah.
like there are so many lost opportunities to tie in directly with film and TV properties that you could create rides around that aren't necessarily, I mean, obviously there's going to be music, it's a Peloton ride, but aren't tied around a specific musical act. And
sports, they've done pretty good with Disney and they've done pretty good with sports, but there's a lot that could still be done here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
mean, how cool would it be if when Indiana Jones come out, what if you did a scenic run, but you're running through Indiana Jones scenes, you're running from a boulder, or
that would be so cool,
running through the jungle or what have you. So but anyway, there's lots of things they could do.
I hope you're listening, Peloton. Yeah. Tom's got ideas.
I've got ideas.
You're gonna have to pay more than this though.
Yeah.
So unless you can work from home.
At least part of the time.
Yeah.
Coming up after this, we're going to talk to Dr. Jenn. She's going to answer a question about what to do when an instructor upsets you. Maybe they said something to you directly. Maybe they just are of an opinion that you don't share, but you love their classes. How do you process that? She's got thoughts. Stick around.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. She's a 5-year national team member in rhythmic gymnastics and sports psychology for USA Gymnastics. It's Dr. Jenn. Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
We've got a tough question for you today, Dr. Jenn. This one is kind of more of a general question. You know, I've talked to a lot of people over the years who have interacted with instructors on all different levels. And, you know, these instructors just become kind of almost godlike to some of us. And sometimes things happen that reduce our view of those instructors, whether it be something that was said to us directly or something that might have occurred. Maybe even just something you saw on social media and maybe you interpreted it to be about you. But whatever happens, it can change your view of that instructor and it can absolutely be devastating. For people that occurs to, do you have any thoughts on how they can handle that in a healthy way?
you know, Tom, do you remember, and I bet you will, the album, the David Cassidy album? It was called something like The Higher They Climb, The Harder They Fall. Do you remember that album?
Yeah, that sounds,
I'm a music guy.
Yeah.
I think that it's very applicable to Peloton instructors and our view of them, that kind of the more we put someone on a pedestal, the harder they're going to fall, because nobody can live up to the expectations. And, you know, one of the things about whether it is a Peloton instructor or a celebrity, that when there's someone who you are seeing from the comfort of your own home or your bike or your tread, that they're in your home and you start to feel like you know them and you start to project a lot onto them. And when I say project, I mean kind of we fill in the blanks, that kind of, if you think of it like a connect the dot, we kind of draw the picture that we want there to be as opposed to the person who they actually are. We are all human. We are all flawed. We all have good days and bad days. We all say things we regret or sometimes get triggered and take things personally or take things the wrong way, as do the instructors. And so I think it's really important to keep in mind that all of our instructors are human and they have their good days and their bad days, and that sometimes they may be misunderstood. Sometimes there may be information out there about them that is not accurate. Sometimes they say things that rubs us the wrong way. And oftentimes when that happens, it shatters our idea of who they are. And we tend to, especially when we project, we go, oh, that instructor, like, oh, she is wearing the same outfit as me. Oh, we have so much in common. Oh, she talked about how she loved that song when she was 16. That was my favorite song when I was 16. Or, oh yeah, she just broke up with her boyfriend. I broke up with my boyfriend. I felt the exact same way. So we start to kind of identify with the instructors and we start to feel very kind of merged with the instructor and kind of like we have a bond and a connection that we have kind of in our head, like, and some people do interact with the instructor, and that kind of, I think, sometimes makes it even more complicated because a lot of the instructors are so warm and so friendly, and it makes us feel really special when they message us on Instagram or respond to a post we did about them. That feels very special, but again, they're human. And I think that part of our job is to enjoy what they bring to us on the bike, on the tread, on the rower, on the mat, you know, all of that, but also to recognize that they are human and that if we put them too much on a pedestal, that there's nowhere for them to go but down.
And also at the end of the day, you really only need these instructors to be good at one thing. And that's helping you through your whatever, tread or bike or guide stuff, whatever.
Yeah, inspiring you enough to get on and do the workout or stay on.
Yeah. And just because somebody's a good instructor doesn't mean they're good at other things, right? Whether that's
such a good point.
You know,
Yeah, you
and I
guys
don't mean to say that they're bad people, but they might not be your kind of people, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the downfall of, as I guess they call this, a parasocial relationship, where you end up knowing a lot about them because they're sitting there talking and that resonates with you, but they don't know anything about you. You're just a camera, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy to forget that.
Absolutely. I mean, I it's funny because I've had people do it to us, and I know that I do it to, like, I have podcasts I listen to where I'm just like, oh, I feel like, oh, me and that guy would be friends. When it's like,
100%.
Probably not.
I totally do that with TV shows.
Yeah.
And their characters.
And we do that with our instructors.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's very easy to do that with our instructors because they're so personable. And look, part of the reason why they have these cool jobs is that not just are they great at instructing and leading classes and picking music and all that, but they're really charismatic people.
Yeah.
Like, they're gorgeous, they're smart, they're funny, they're interesting, and the charisma is like off the charts, and that draws us to them. But again, they are human just as we are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for all that. Until next time, where can people find you?
You can find me on social media at Dr. Jenn Man, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Man, and I post all of my Peloton workouts on my stories.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Instructors in the news.
Cody Rigsby has announced his book tour.
Yeah, we got all these dates up last week, but it starts on September 10th in Northvale, New Jersey. And then the last stop is September 21st in Chicago. Apparently, there is also a virtual option as well.
I think at least at some of them there is. So
this is nice. I know that a lot of these sold out really fast. We got it up as many places as we could, but these events, they really went fast. The Raleigh, North Carolina one, all of these were gone within like an hour.
and most of these appear to be at indie bookstores. So
Yeah.
like they're probably not the biggest places in the world. So which is great that he's helping out indie bookstores. I'm not besmirching that,
Oh, of
but
course not.
But it also means that the capacity is going to be pretty limited at some of these places, one would think. So.
It would mean that. And you also get a signed copy of the book whenever you sign up for any of these. So if there happens to be availability still and you haven't signed up, you absolutely should get yourself a signed copy.
And I do think with the virtual option, there's still a version where you can get a signed copy of the book. You can do it with just watching or extra, and you also get a copy of the book. So
sweet.
Just because you can't attend in person doesn't mean you can't get a signed copy. So give it a shot.
There you go.
Kindle Tool is getting an award called, it's a brand new award called Make an Impact Award.
Yeah, it's being presented by the American Association of Suicidology, which, FYI, spelling does not catch.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a word, according to the dictionary.
Got yourself a red squiggly there?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. It was kind of annoying because I couldn't make it go away. But, obviously Kendall has talked, a lot about how she feels about mental health, mental illness, what she struggled with. And this award is to say, hey, you made an impact by sharing all that information and also sharing resources with other people. Since it is the first of its kind, it's pretty exciting to have that bestowed upon. I mean, anybody that would have that happen it's pretty exciting. So
Absolutely.
Congrats to Kendall.
Camila Ramon this week decided to give people tips on how to prevent and avoid chafing, which I would think in the world of exercise is super important.
It is. It is super important. And keeping things dry is very key to all of this. Also, they have all kinds of little glides that you can use. Body Glide is my go-to, although I'm the same person that got blisters this big on my feet. So why don't you listen to Camila Ramon and not to me?
That sounds like a good prescription for a blister-free future.
Mm-hmm.
Jess Sims is gearing up for the new season of College Gameday.
Yeah, she's getting the excitement going, and she had questions for everybody reading her social media. She wanted to know, what do you want to see on social as she visits each city and campus? She wants to know, what do you want to see more of on the show? And she also just was very excited about the fact that she just did her kickoff Zoom meeting. If you were wondering, this is probably going to follow the same format as last year, where her Saturday 60s are not going to be live. They will be pre-recorded and then they will show up on demand. So that's how she was able to keep it going last year. And everyone is hopeful that that will continue this year during the College Gameday season as well.
Christine D'Ercole is competing in the USA Cycling Masters Track National Championships That's a
Yes,
mouthful. I'm
it
winded
is.
just saying that.
Well, she's going to be winded when she's done. So you might remember she was injured last year. This is really scary to be going back to this. But today is the first day. I know you guys won't be hearing this till 2 days later. She'll be in the middle of it. But make sure that you cheer her on. If you go to this article, you will be able to find a link that you can track all of her races and see how she is doing. So we are all wishing her a lot of luck.
And when you go to theclipout.com, you can just go to the search icon and type in Christine, and it'll be one of the top articles that pop up.
And you can do it from your mobile as well.
So we have a couple of mysterious posts from instructors this week. Adrian Williams and Logan Aldridge both separately posted mysterious images from a recording studio.
They did. And now it looks like the recording studio where they record all of their outdoor content. But the interesting thing is that Logan has never had any outdoor content so that he has posted. And also, they weren't in the same recording studio at the same time that we can tell. And so are they maybe doing something for outdoor content? Is there maybe something coming up with AFO? Another big thing is everybody is hoping that this means Adrian is going to be recording sleep meditations. People everywhere are obsessed with Adrian, how he looks, how he sounds. He's just dreamy. So they're hoping to be carried off into dreamland. But no one is saying that same thing about Logan. So I suspect it's outdoor content, but we shall see.
Gotcha. Although people are saying that Logan's dreamy. Just to be
of
clear.
of course. They're not saying that they think that he's doing the nighttime, like the sleep meditations. Yes.
Also, Tunde had a post this week teasing an unnamed new project.
Yeah, she's posted several different posts about it. She's teasing it everywhere. Nobody knows what it is. So we will be keeping you up to date on all of that.
And that wraps up Instructors in the News, but we have more stories to share with you if you want to check them out on our bonus episode that lives over at patreon.com/theclipout. It is there waiting for you. Also, coming up after this, we're going to talk to Angelo. We have a listener wanting to know, does it make more sense to do multiple shorter workouts in a day instead of one long workout? And he's got answers for you, so stick around. Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube from MetPro, it's Angelo here to answer all of your fitness and nutrition questions. How's it going?
Hi.
It is going great, guys. Thank you once again for having me back. Always love being here.
Well, we love when you're here because we like to help people answer questions, and we know that you do too. We actually have one today that was emailed to me. This is from Maeve. Maeve, so I believe that's how you pronounce it. And she wants to know about breaking up workouts throughout the day.
Oh.
So she says for the last 3 years, she's been really good about working out 3 to 4 times a day in the afternoons after work. She has a hybrid work setup, so most days she has a lot of flexibility. She wants to accelerate her fat loss and read recently that it's best to do cardio in the morning and strength training in the afternoon. So instead of doing 1 full hour in the afternoons, is there any benefit to doing 30 minutes of cardio in the morning and 30 minutes of strength in the afternoon? Also, if morning cardio is good, should it be before or after breakfast? There's like 6 questions there.
There is. No, but these are really good questions. And actually, I was just recently discussing this with a client, and they deserve an answer. The answer, of course, is
It depends.
depends. Right.
I would think the first thing I would think is if you want to break them up, you got to be really, really focused on actually doing them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so easy to be like do the one in the morning and then be like, well, I worked out today.
That is exactly what I would do.
That was
I do
the
not
first place
trust
my head went, where I was just like, I'd be like, good enough.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
I would do that for sure.
You're right, and a lot of people do. Maeve is not doing that. I can tell you by how she worded that question.
I would
she's
agree.
not doing
Yeah.
that. So the key here is I love questions like this because I want people to understand the nuance that goes into selecting the right choice for you, because it's not a simple matter of, oh yeah, AM cardio is best, or, do weights in the afternoon, or one long workout, or break it up is always best. they affect the body differently. So here's the benefit to breaking up workouts into smaller throughout the day. The benefit is instead of getting a metabolic spike once in the day, you get it twice. So what does that mean? Well, recent research, we're just discussing this. Recent research has come out that has shown athletes participating in high intensity exercise still show signs of an elevated RMR, BMR, base metabolic rate up to 22 hours after the exercise session. So in theory, you're going to get that spike and then you're going to get a second spike. And what it's going to do is it's just going to keep your body in elevated metabolic rate. Now, it's not a massive rate. Most of that elevation declines within about 3 hours, but you still have some base elevation. Now, here's the trick. When they redid that study, but now under the circumstance of someone who is in a hypocaloric state, dieting, trying to lose weight. Well, the metabolism has one extra little jab and way to get back at us. They didn't last anywhere near 22 hours showing an uptick. Why? Because the body is trying to become more efficient. Metabolism is acclimating.
It's on to you.
It's on to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. However, what that does is it puts an additional feather in the cap of breaking up your workouts because it's simply a little bit harder. Now, this is not going to be the difference. If it's like, I have 30 pounds to lose and I'm going to lose it because I'm taking my 1 hour workout and splitting it into two 30-minute workouts, you're not going to lose 30 pounds. Not going to happen. Now, I've been at this weight. I've been doing all the things right. I'm fighting with this last 4 pounds. Now, let me make this adjustment. Yes, these are the type of things that can make the difference. They're nuanced. They are not the main entree. The main entree is going to be daily totals.
It's like snow chains.
That's it. Snow chains.
Your
exactly.
tires work no matter what, but all of a sudden they stop working. You put snow chains on.
That's okay.
Tom always has an illustration.
He does. He does. That one was in pop culture. That was in pop culture, though. I'm really impressed.
It's practical.
It was.
Very practical.
I've seen them put on snow chains in movies. I've never seen a snow chain in real life. I just wait for things to thaw.
You do. That is exactly.
Like shovel the driveway. That's what spring is for. You nerd.
He's not joking.
I've used a snow shovel once in the last 20 years. It was to pick up dog puke.
So, Maeve, thank you for the question. The answer is stop all your cardio and just shovel snow. You'll burn out.
While wearing snow chains. It's like CrossFit or something.
I love it. I love
God.
it. Okay, so real quick, the counterbalance. So why wouldn't everyone just split their workouts?
Right.
Well, there is a very relevant reason, and that is there are systems, biological systems, that adapt based on time. So there is little incentive to not break it up other than practicalities and time management if you're not trying to increase endurance. If you're trying to increase your endurance, what you need is the last half hour. The first half hour doesn't get you into the pathways, doesn't challenge the way your body uses fuel, uptakes triglycerides, mitochondria feeds the body in different ways on a cellular level. All these adaptations take place the last few minutes of your endurance session. Therefore, there is no shortcutting endurance work. You have to put in the time and they have to be consecutive minutes. If that is not a primary goal for you, if endurance, long duration endurance is not a factor, there is some subtle benefit. That said, we just did a test at MetPro where we analyzed a large subset of our clientele and the results was surprising. The results were that individuals participating in exercise greater than 3 days a week would lose an increase of 34% body weight, 34% body fat. They would lose that much more weight. Now, ones that didn't exercise because they were manipulating the diet, they still lost weight, but 34% more. Now, here's the kicker. That did not take into consideration time or intensity. So does that mean time and intensity don't matter? Absolutely not. I can tell you, doing this 20 years, they matter. But what it does give us an indication is what's the big picture. The big picture is habits. If you take large subsettings of the population, and I had to give you advice to help you improve your metabolism, it's get consistent with your workouts is your number one goal. So whether you prefer working out in the morning, evening, my answer is work out when you'll be the most consistent. Research has indicated early morning workouts, the average person is more consistent at getting. We can imagine the reasons for that. But if you can't work out first thing in the morning, work out in the afternoon and anchor it to something in your schedule that doesn't move. Maeve asked if she should be doing cardio in a fasted state or not fasted state. A lot of that depends on how much weight you have to lose and your body type. So mesomorph and endomorphs are typically well served by some fasting state cardio because usually muscle loss is not a big factor for them. Ectomorphs that are close to their goal weight are not usually served well by fasting state cardio because what it does is it gives you a slight notch in fat burning and it gives you a slight mark against muscle development. And that's usually not a good exchange for ectomorphs. So each person has to determine which priority they're going to have. And in all cases, if your performance is suffering, in other words, well, because I didn't have breakfast first, I can only get through half the workout, that's a losing equation. Assuming breakfast first not isn't significantly impacting your exercise, then consider your goal and consider your body type and deciding if fasting state cardio is right for you. So hopefully that'll help a little. If you're that petite frame, Maeve, you may want to go ahead and eat breakfast first. If muscle mass is not an issue for you, try some fasting state. If your energy holds, yes, do cardio first, save your resistance training for in the afternoon.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Great
for all
advice,
that.
yeah.
And
absolutely.
Of course.
Great question.
We're painting with broad strokes. You're painting. We're watching paint. But this is not a one-size-fits-all thing. If people would like things tailored to their own personal journeys, where can they find you?
Thank you, Tom. metpro.co/TCO.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Peloton Celebrity Sightings.
You might remember a year ago or so, people thought J.J. Watt was on Peloton. He's a big-time football player, so we've been told, or now retired. And
They said he is a sports guy, so that's,
Yes.
we don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so that turned out to not be true, but now he is actually on Peloton, as he posted from his own verified account, so we know that it's true. But he also had some questions about how metrics are being decided because he didn't come in first.
He was like, is Lance Armstrong in this class? Because there were 8. He was number 8 out of 54,000 people. And we all say to you, JJ, no, their bikes are jacked.
Yes. Not saying there isn't someone out there who's going to, he's a professional athlete, but there are lots of professional athletes
Sure.
that have bikes. So like
Maybe
it's
8 of them really were on at the same time.
perhaps, but statistically speaking, probably not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so welcome to the Peloton family, JJ Watt.
Yes. Welcome.
New content.
The Extra series has new classes.
Yeah, and I need to be clear that these are talking about rowing, and I called it Extra 10, but it's just extra. So it's Extra 5, actually, for the row, but they're expanding to the row, and that's the whole point. That's what's exciting. So now we have extra classes you can drop into your runs, your walks, your hikes, and, of course, your biking, but now we're adding the row. Very cool.
Peloton is celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Yes, and they're doing that hip hop tour we talked about. But this week, we are headed to the South. And so there's going to be a 30-minute run with Marcel Dinkins. There's going to be a 30-minute hip hop with yoga with Dennis, and then a 30-minute hip hop boot camp with Jess Sims. So that's all in collaboration with Rock the Bells and LL Cool J.
Jocelyn Thompson Rule has a special class for UK Carnival.
Yes. So the carnival takes place in in August. But also, apparently, it takes place just outside of Hyde Park in the UK.
Okay.
I only know this because I recently took the 20-minute scenic walk, and it was with... let's see. It was with two of the British instructors, and I can't remember which ones. But, it was Hannah Frankson, and it was actually one of the German instructors that was with her. And anyway, they talked about the carnival. And so Jocelyn Thompson Rule is doing a special class. It's going to be on August 25th at noon Eastern, and it's going to be a walk and run, walk plus run. So last year there was a walk. You can pair that up while you get ready, or take them back to back. That'll be awesome.
Gospel yoga classes are back.
They sure are. Chelsea Jackson Robertson, she has always... Did I say Robertson?
You did.
I'm so sorry. Chelsea Jackson Roberts. She has been doing gospel yoga classes, and they come back seasonally. This year they are back. So very excited to see that.
Also, DJ John Michael announced some new lane break levels for people.
Yes, and they actually aren't on the screen, just for confusion purposes.
Gotcha.
So their new levels were Motley Crue and 90s pop, I believe. And if you scroll down, I can see if I'm correct on that. So there's a 15-minute Motley Crue hits, and then there's a 30-minute set, and then there is a 30-minute pop extravaganza. Yeah, so lots of fun. And those are all for the tread.
Gotcha. And we also have a new 30-minute Trevor Hall yoga flow.
Yes. So Trevor Hall is actually he uses yoga. He performs yoga, whatever you want to say. Practices. Okay. That's the word I'm looking for. So there will be one special class on August 11th at 6:30 a.m. taught by Kristen McGee. So that's pretty cool. You can also file it under artist collaborations.
I see. I didn't realize he was an artist.
Yes.
I just thought he was a yoga instructor I never heard of.
My word. He kind of does like folk music, so it's really not something that you would be on your radio. Your radar. Oh, my word.
It wouldn't be on my radio either.
It's true.
The only folk musician I listen to are the Smothers Brothers.
I don't know if you can count that, but okay.
You can absolutely count the folk musicians as Smothers Brothers.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Don't get me started.
Okay.
I'll go down a whole pop culture lecture rabbit hole.
Save it for the bonus.
About the Smothers Brothers and folk music.
Save it.
I'll do it. Kirsten Ferguson has a new 15-minute run.
She does, but this one's special. It is an audio-only outdoor run, and it's geared toward beginners and those returning from injury. As you know, she recently had an injury that she is recovering from, so it is perfect for people in the same boat.
And Logan Aldridge also has a new adaptive strength.
Yes, it's another seated adaptive class, and it's going to be taking place on August 10th at 10 a.m. Eastern. So make sure that you check it out.
And finally, there are all new resistance band classes for people to check out.
And these are with Marcel Maurer. So they're probably going to be taking place in Germany. These take place on August 8th. They started on August 8th. So you can check those out. They should already be on demand waiting for you.
In case you missed it.
And finally, every week within the Clip Out group, which if you're not in, you should be, find us at facebook.com/theclipout. Like the page and join the group. They're two different things, but we ask people to give us their top 5 weekly classes or their favorite class, and then we compile to see which are the top 5.
We do. So this week we had a 10-minute breathing meditation from Chelsea Jackson Roberts. We also had another Barbie run. This one, or Barbie class, this one showed up from Marcel Dinkins, and it was on 8-3, 30 minutes. Then we had a 60-minute walk and run with Mariana Fernandez, and a 30-minute epic sing-along ride with Jen Sherman, and then another 60-minute total strength with Andy Spear. So can we just run through and tell why people loved them?
Absolutely.
So Chelsea, this person, her name was Jennifer Perez, and she noticed she was anxious. So she was getting ready to start a scuba diving course, and she used this meditation to calm her nerves. She did it the night before, and it helped, and she felt a lot better. Then we have our favorite run, the Shady Barbie. That was what Marcel called it. Everybody loved the Barbie classes. This was no exception. Trish Lalonde, one of our tipsters, loved this take on the Barbie theme. It was a lot of fun, and she was Shady Barbie and throwing shade at people in the room who hadn't seen the movie.
With all the money it's making, I'm surprised there's anybody left who hasn't seen the movie.
For reals. And then we have the favorite Peloton run walk. This one was with Mariana. Yeah, I took this class, and I got to tell you, she was not joking. Mariana did an 11-minute running interval in a walk-run class. I mean, when this person says they were like, what? Yeah. For real. Yeah. What? 11 minutes. And so, but I have to say, this whole class was amazing. I felt so good when I was done. It had a great playlist, including Green Day and Eminem and Taylor Swift. So, then we had, of course, the epic sing-along with JSS. I have to highlight Lisa Getty's favorite moment in the class. She was in, Jen Sherman was in top form, and it was all 80s music. And she said during the Jenny by Tommy Two-Tone, she said, if there's a single one of you who don't know the number, get the out. I love it. Obviously, she just meant you're probably not of her age range if you don't.
Yes.
And then 60 Minutes with Andy. The class was so great. Andy knows his stuff, and his adjustment prompts are great. I feel like he's talking directly to me. Elongate your spine and focus on your core. How does he know I was slouching and slacking? I love that.
It was just a hunch.
And that is from Linda Hawk. So lots of fun feedback from the TCO community. Love it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. Also, don't forget that there was a new apparel drop this week.
Yeah. So it was just a couple of things. It was a windbreaker, and it was some shorts. Now, this kind of ties into the Jen Sherman 80s theme in that they looked like windbreakers from the 1980s, but they are back. They are stylish. I don't know how well that they are selling. I will be curious to see. There's just a little mini capsule collection. Great for runners.
Awesome.
Peloton birthdays.
And finally, in birthdays, we've got 3 this week.
Oh, it is August.
First up, we have Christine Diercole, the aforementioned Christine Diercole, on August 11th. And I guess it means she'll be racing on her birthday.
It does mean that. It does.
And then Rebecca Kennedy on August 13th. And finally, former instructor and past guest Nicole Moline on August 17th. So if you see him on the socials, or I guess in real life, wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, ladies.
And coming up next in our interview, we're going to learn all about grief doulas. It's not as sad as you might think. It's a natural part of life, but it's a riveting conversation. So do stick around.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Jokotifa Alaye. Hey, how's it going?
Wonderful. I'm so grateful to be with you guys.
Well, we are so grateful to have you here.
I'm always intrigued when someone comes on camera and they've got like a crazy good microphone.
I know.
I'm like, what does that mean?
Well,
it means I'm trying. Is what it means.
She's got videos, Tom.
Yeah.
She's got lots of videos and lots of things that she's sharing with the universe, which we're going to dive into because I have lots of questions.
Let's get to the diving.
All right. Well, let's start at the beginning. How did you originally find Peloton?
Yeah. So, not 2019.
Okay.
Peloton came into my awareness, and I really wanted it. I was like, this is going to be it. But I get excited about things, and so I said, okay, well, I'm going to try the app, and if I can use the app and like stick to that, then like I know I can commit, right? So I tried the app. First thing I ever did, I took it to the gym. I did a Matt Wilpers like run or stretch and then a run. And I loved Matt from like day one. And I used the app consistently. And it felt like I needed to do it, right? It felt like it's something I need to like just buckle down and get done. So at the end of 2019, I made 2 purchases. I made the Peloton purchase, which came in like December, and I bought a Tushy bidet. And then it became 2020.
I feel like you cursed us.
I did not. The universe was like, you are going to need these things to get through 2020. And that can be your soundbite. That is fine. You get sponsored by Tushy at this point. you know, the gym's closed. One day I went to like 8 stores and there was no toilet paper. And I was like, it's cool, fine. It's fine. We're going to make do with this thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I remember posting online as it was all ramping up that like Amazon started limiting how many bidets you could buy.
And we knew we needed,
Yeah.
like we bought 2 because we were like, oh.
And we have 3 bathrooms in our house, not to brag.
Yeah.
But and we could only buy 2. And I was like, well, I guess the kids are going to smell funny.
Yeah. Well, and it took a lot for me to convince my family like that was something we needed to do. But like now we're all sold. Now we don't want to live without one. Right? And we've upgraded since then. I have a tushy and then other ones. But anyway, I felt blessed by the universe.
I have to ask. This might be a hyper personal question, so just tell me to shut up. What is the upgrade in a bidet? Like, what are the levels?
Okay. So the tushy. I mean, I think there are levels, but I got the cheap one, so it's cold water.
Right.
It's like literally tap cold water.
Okay.
So a nicer one like has a seat warmer and warm water and different like speeds.
Okay.
You know that we are a certain age when we start getting excited about things like this, because I was doing my for Amazon Prime, I was like doing my list of all the things on Amazon Prime days, and I saw some of those fancy bidets and I was like, ooh, we might need to upgrade.
Yeah, I was like for some holiday I was like, oh my husband, like, can we get the next model up?
The holiday for the bidets, like every holiday has its own things.
Yeah.
The holiday that you should give people a bidet on is Arbor Day.
Because of the trees?
You're saving the trees. You're saving the
All
trees.
right. Well, there together we have like created a 4 tushy. You're welcome.
Use promo code TCO at checkout.
She was super skeptical too. She was like, where are you going
she's
with
like,
this?
this is going to be horribly offensive. I've seen guys like this before.
and then you pivoted. She was like, okay.
I'll allow it.
Okay, so sorry, we got a little off track. We do that. So 2019 at the end, so you were ahead of the pandemic buyers, which that's great because you didn't have to wait forever to get your bike.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I lucked out. I had it when everything shut down because I was going to the gym too. I was taking spin classes there. So yeah, I had it for all of that.
Yeah. That's trying time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now, were you always like a fit person? You were going to the gym. You were doing all the things before you got the Peloton. So is fitness a big part of your life or no?
Yeah, it is now. So here's the arc. I've always had weight issues in my life. I've always been self-conscious about my weight. And at some point, I'm only 5'3". I'm kind of short, right? And at one point I got to like 200 something pounds and I was like, I can't, once we get into that number, like I cannot do that anymore, right? And so I was like, what are the skinny people doing? And I saw people running. And I was like, okay, I will start running. And so the first thing I started was the couch to 5K. And I had a lot of friends around me who was really supportive. They would run with me. And I think I did my first run was a 5K color run. And I just like felt so great that I had achieved this big thing.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. And then at some point in there of like trying to figure out my weight, I got pregnant and I had lost weight by then and I had my baby, and pregnancy and birth and all of that was that was another empowering situation for me. Like that taught me that my body is able to do like really difficult things and thrive through it. I mean, I loved it. I mean, the whole thing, I loved it.
That's great. So many times you hear women come out the other side of that and they're like, I'm glad I have a kid, but that was awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice that you enjoyed the process like that.
Yeah. And not because it was
fun,
like pain-free.
For sure. Yeah.
Part of it is fun. Part of it was fun, but a lot, it's more just like how powerful it is, right? How powerful it is. And I came out of that experience going, I'm capable of being powerful. Like, for shame that I didn't realize my body could do like these things, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then I gained weight again because that's what you do when you have the baby.
Sure.
Maybe whatever, stay home for a little bit. And so then I said, okay, let me get back to running. And I'm also a bullet point checker off. Like I like to check things off. So had a baby, check, done. Next thing.
We've
What's
got a
the
lot in
next
common.
hardest
Yeah.
thing? Like, that's the hardest thing. What's the next hardest thing? A marathon. That's a hard thing. I will do that. So then I started training for a marathon, and I did one in Portland,
Wow.
and I want to say 2014.
Okay.
And then I am not doing that again. I'll be very clear. It was a slog. I finished. It wasn't about time. It was just about doing it. Like
Sure.
telling myself I could do it. And then, okay, what's the next thing? Bodybuilding sounds fun. I will now try bodybuilding. And so I found a coach and I did a figure competition. And I want to say like 2016, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, right. But these are extreme things that I did, from like just being unhappy with the amount of physical exertion I was doing, to like wanting to feel powerful, to like completing these goals. But I'm not someone who can commit to the long run. I mean, I could choose to, right? But I have a lot of other competing obligations, right? So I've continued to run/walk. I did a half marathon this year, but I walked it, pretty much just to say I did it. I will never do bodybuilding again. I loved there's nothing else like it. I loved the consistency. I loved the ritual behind like making your food and packing it and bringing it with you, and the transformations that happen. But that's, again, very extreme. And so now it's all like, me now is putting it all together. Like, how do I have a baseline of healthy choices, healthy activity? Peloton is now a part of that. Although I guess I'm supposed to make fun of you, Tom, for not having it.
That's fine.
Okay, but I can't. I cannot make fun of you. So I retract it, because I have not been writing it. I blame it on being a manifesting generator. I learned that I'm that. And apparently manifesting generators like do new things all the time, and they like love one thing. But
you've still done it more than I have.
That's true.
That. I think it's hysterical to hear, just backing up a little bit, when you're talking about weightlifting and you're like, the thing that you liked the most was the food prepping. Like, everybody always seems to hate the having to deal with prepping the food, and I find it fascinating that that was a selling point for you, that you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Enjoy is a tough word. I appreciated it. If I said enjoy, okay. I enjoy the
vibe I got was enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoy
me.
I enjoy like structure, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
if you tell me what to eat, like, I will create a structure and I will eat it and I will pack it and just take it. And it is like a little ritual of, nutrients.
For sure.
You liked the taking the guesswork out of what should I eat? Like to reach your goals. I mean,
yep. And I liked the structure that was involved in, you do this happens.
Yeah. That's cool.
I see that. I'm like that. I'm like, put the dots really close together for me. I don't understand why they work, but just, like, I'll connect the dots, but you got to put the dots there for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was really irritated about that for a long time, that I needed dots.
Right.
I was like, I should just be able to do it. Like, I'm an adult and I've done these things before. I should just do it. And that took some processing. And then maybe I saw a meme. I don't know. It was like, Olympic athletes have coaches, right? So who am I to not need a coach, right?
No, I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
And true. Like, not like you just found a way to lie to yourself, but like, that's a very valid point.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people do better with coaches and accountability. And
that's why they got them.
Well, it's so funny too that a lot of people will not think twice about getting a coach for fitness, like especially if they want to run or something. But whenever you like add nutrition, they're like, I should just know that. I mean, exactly what you just said. I should just know what is my problem. But it's no different. And in fact, nutrition is 80% of the battle. So like, it's not crazy that people need some help.
And we're still learning things about nutrition every day, because it's not like regular science, right? Like, you can't A/B test nutrition. There's no way to guarantee someone's always going to eat the exact same thing while this control group does the exact opposite. So like, there's so much kind of gray murkiness around the quote unquote right way to eat.
I've really
Right.
enjoyed all the science that's coming out about protein in athletes because they keep like learning new things. Like they're like, yeah, in general, people should eat, especially if they're bodybuilding, they should eat more protein. I mean, that's very established. But then on the other side of things, it's like, well, but protein is so particular to the individual. So that's like you can't just have like a USRDA recommendation that's going to cover everybody in every circumstance. So I really like drilling down on that piece of it. You know, women, especially older women, like we need to have more protein. But if you're trying to lose weight, that can work against you. You know, you need to, I find the whole thing fascinating. Sorry, I went down another rabbit hole.
But rabbits are full of protein.
Well, and and I did macros, when I was doing the bodybuilding, and she really had me, my coach really had me dialed in. Like she did such a great job, and I wanted to do macros on my own, but that was a struggle. And so now when I'm just Michael Pollan, do you know who he is?
No.
Food Rules guy. He's an author, a lot of books out, and someone gifted me Food Rules a while ago, and he has like eat foods, mostly plants, eat things your grandmother could pronounce. There's a bunch, but they're
What
real
if your grandmother
simple.
was dumb? What do you do then?
Eat apples, like bread and apples.
That's a great answer. She did
I'm
not
gonna say
miss a
that your
beat.
grandma's.
I
just
gained
fine.
900 pounds because my grandma had a stutter. Now what?
I don't believe that about your grandma.
No, he's messing with you.
I figured.
Oh my gosh, you're so fun.
Well, thank you, honey.
I was.
Oh, you meant Joko.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah, that makes
I definitely
more
meant
sense.
Joko.
Yeah.
So, all right, changing gears a little bit. I'm curious then, because you have Peloton. We've talked a little bit about that, and you have a blog. And I know somehow these two things intersect, but I don't know exactly how. So, tell us a little bit about your blog.
Well, so I'm going to tell you about me.
Okay.
And then I will get to the blog. That's
Okay.
all right. So I am a death care professional, which means I've worked in mortuaries since I was 18 years old. I'm now in my 40s. So about a little over 25 years, I've worked in the death care profession. And I have gone through different iterations of what I do while I am there, from the very basic stuff to just maintaining the building, to then taking on apprenticeships, learning to meet with families, drive the hearse, like pretty much all the things that you could think to do in a funeral home, I have done. And now so pandemic, right?
Okay.
I, like so many people, sat and thought, why am I here? Like, what is it that I'm meant to do? It really, that time was it could have been for people very transformative. And so you saw people quit their job because they weren't happy and go into something else. You just saw people realize their time was short. You saw people confronted with mortality and make changes. And I'm very aware of mortality. It's like every day, like someone is grieving around me. But still, it takes a thing like that to evaluate your life when mortality really comes into your awareness, which for me takes a little extra, I guess. But to say, like, am I doing what I'm meant to do? And I also know from my job in death care that we as a society don't grieve very well, and that we bottle it up, and we don't do funerals really well, and that it's something that we struggle with that idea. Even the word funeral, people are like, I don't want that. I see a lot of that now.
Right.
And so I'm looking at the way that we handle that on a day-to-day basis, which we already need to put work there. And then I'm looking at the way that we are processing this tremendous loss, not just the loss of life, but the loss of this idea of the world was supposed to be a way. And now it is not this way, and it will never be that way again. Even now, as we're kind of, doing things for the most part, right? Kind of back to the way it was. There's still a piece of us that recognizes, and for many people, their day-to-day life is significantly changed, right? So I want to honor that. But for those of us, less affected, that don't have like something specific, it's still there. Our world
if I go to a concert or a movie, like I don't wear a mask anymore. I was always a mask guy. Like I'm not that guy, but I still have those moments of like, but should I be? Like I still feel a little weird for not doing it.
Right. And all of those shifts all of those shifts that we're going through and figuring out how we're going to be the best person in our community, right? How are we going to protect ourselves and one another? It's a totally different way of thinking, and one that has in its roots this grief of our life is different. You know, every time we think something like that, it means we've lost our steadiness. We've lost the foundation that we came to rely on. And so I looked at people, not handling it. And I wasn't handling it, right? So it's not no fault of anybody. It's an unhandleable thing. And I thought, we are going to need so much work in grieving that I better do what I can do to be in a place to support people in that way. So it became, I have this foundation of death care and meeting with, I can't tell you how many families I've met with over the course of the years, dealing with this very acute loss. And now I'm pairing that foundation with what I've learned about grief and now what I continue to learn about grief. So I can be someone who holds space for that. And we don't forget that that's happening. As we try to move forward, there still needs to be a place where we can, sometimes just be sad. Like, man, my life is different. Like, I just want to sit and be sad for a minute. And to have someone say, you sit with me and I will honor your feelings right now. So I took a death doula course. If you have become aware of death doulas, those are
only after reading some of your information. That's it. That's the first time I'd ever heard that. I am fascinated by the term. I had no idea such a thing existed, but I think there should be more of them. I really do.
Well, it's really gaining traction. It was just in People magazine. In fact.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they're little blips, but for me, I'm in the death care algorithm, right? So everywhere I look, I see it, but I know that other people are not. But yeah, it's gaining popularity. There are places, there are several places you can go to get that training. So I took that course, and then I took a grief support specialist course as well, and said to myself, how do I take this knowledge and help people with it? And I didn't know how to do it for a long time. And finally, I just was like, I will just create a space where I can do that. So I created Morning Space. So that's where the blog is. I do a lot of content on Instagram where I try to just share with people what I've learned through death and dying, but also as a witness of grieving.
Wow.
It sounds like a lot.
It does. It does. It sounds really heavy.
I dance around a lot and skateboard and roller skate and stuff to like shake it out.
Yeah, I can't imagine taking that on a daily basis. Like that would be even with what you were doing before working in a funeral home. Like I can't, like that to me sounds like a lot of dealing with death day in, day out, and to take it on at its root. Like a funeral home's dealing with the aftermath, where you're dealing with the beginning of the end. I don't mean to be flippant, but it's that just the intensity there. I remember when my father passed away and he was in hospice, just like what that was like, watching the people come and go, and how intense that, it was 4 or 5 days, which in the grand scheme of things is not that long. I know some people spend a lot more time awaiting that process.
But it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy. And even when you're dealing with somebody else's, like to be a sincere part of it, you have to take a little on. You can't just watch it at a distance. I mean,
I think especially with what you're describing, because like a lot of times how you take that on is by detaching yourself, but by virtue of definition, you can't detach yourself or you're not doing what you do, right?
That's a balance of both. So I can't take on all of it, because what you don't want with someone like me, right? And let's say as a funeral death care professional, what you don't want is for you to come to me crying and then I start crying too. Like You're looking for someone to hold your hand and walk you
some stability.
You're looking for stability. And so that's my job to provide that to you. And so there is a little bit of detachment in that I can't take on all of the devastation that you're feeling, but I can certainly recognize the space that you're in and use my knowledge to help you. right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean, I mean, there's been plenty of situations that were very difficult to remain detached.
Sure.
Right. I mean, but, you know, we try to do that in private.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
So you're still working at the funeral home? Just to
Yeah, so I am. So I don't want to talk much about this. Let me say that.
That's okay.
Okay, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's a long story, but yeah. So I have I have a career, and then I have this thing I'm doing on the side.
Got it.
Okay. So can we back up a little bit and just kind of explain to people exactly what a death doula is and what that entails?
Sure. Yeah. So a death doula, which you also might hear be called an end of life doula or a death midwife. It is a non-medical professional that assists a family or the dying person spiritually, practically, emotionally at the end of a life. Now, death doulas are very new, although I'm saying that to say the title is very new.
Right.
People have acted in that capacity forever. Right?
Maybe not even realizing that's what they were doing.
No, I'm talking about your grandma who
right
with the apples. Like she was there for somebody, you know, hypothetical grandma was there for someone during that transition and held them through that. And so it's there have always been these people. Now there are people who are putting a structure around it and teaching people what they need to know so they can go out and serve others. But it's very in such a regulated society, it's less regulated than a lot of things. I think probably because it's so new.
Sure.
And the doulas define themselves. So they say, as a death doula, these are the services I provide. Kind of like maybe a lawyer is like a patent lawyer or a trial lawyer or whatever. Doulas can say, well, I like to focus on just helping the dying person. I like to focus on just helping the family. I like to just focus on legacy work like scrapbooks or recording stories. So you kind of have to look at the death doulas who are in your community and what they offer and if that's the right fit for you. And it's meant to be a gap filler with things like hospice or doctors, right? So they're not medical. They're not going to give treatment. They're just going to be, there to honor with your emotions, right? So maybe you are angry, but then your brother is very sad and your uncle is like denying that it's even happening, right? And so not fighting any of those things. Just let's sit with that for a moment. And maybe let's help you understand why they could be feeling that way. And it's not wrong. It's just
different.
People process it differently. And then just practical stuff like what do you need to know for before and after with dealing with a funeral home or any other things you need to, tie up. Getting you in touch with other types of healers like maybe acupuncture or aromatherapy, sound healing, maybe have access to those resources to help you, or even some do that too. So some are also, sound healers and they bring that to their practice. So it really defines itself. And so I define myself as an end of life doula, because that's the certificate I got, but with a focus on grief. So I am not assisting dying people and their families in this moment because I have a career in funeral service and it's hard to put them both together at this time.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how would someone, because since it's so new and a lot of people are probably completely unaware of it, how do people in that moment even find out of its existence?
Yeah.
So they're all over Instagram, I'll tell you that. As soon as you
Is the
start
algorithm that good that Instagram knows that like, hey, your grandma's dying. Here's a death doula for you.
They know that, but I know if that you start looking at them, they will show up for you.
For sure. But but a lot of people aren't going to know to look for them. So how, I'm just
I'm going to be on the clip out and I'm going to tell Peloton riders that there are things called death doulas.
For sure.
And you look for them by, looking up death doulas in your area. Google, right? That's what you're going to do. And they're probably going to be more in coasts, right?
Sure. The blue dots.
Things take forever to make their way to the Midwest. I'm
wearing parachute pants right now. That's how long it takes.
But they are there. They are out there. And they want to be found, right? So they want to do this work. So there is NEDA, which is the National End of Life Doula Association.
Okay.
And if you go to their website, they have lists of providers who are NEDA certified.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
That's nice to know too, because I mean, people are so vulnerable when they're going through the grieving process that it's good to know that there's a certification that like points people in a direction of people that really want to be there. They like, it's not just somebody claiming to be a death doula. That's helpful.
Right.
Yeah, that could be very problematic.
It really could. It really could. Yeah.
Well, and so it does. You should go about it in that same, like for birth doulas, right? You might interview a couple before you settle on one. And so that's another reason why I'm putting so much content on Instagram, is because once I'm meeting with someone as a funeral professional, there's stuff that it's not the right time to share with you anymore, right? It's just too much,
right?
You know, it's not helpful. So I'm trying to share that now to a wide audience so that people are prepared before they get to this place. Because so often we are not. And then we're faced with it. And then we're emotional and trying to deal with this just overwhelming thing. And it's too much. So the more that people learn about it ahead of time, the better equipped that you are to be in this position, not to like make it better, but to make yourself more empowered.
Yeah.
Yeah, you recently had on your Instagram some information for veterans, and I didn't like commit it to memory or anything, but I was like, oh my gosh, I that's something that makes total sense. Like you just make assumptions about how the world works, and then you find out in this incredible vulnerable time that is not the way the world works. And that's tough you're already dealing with all this grief and to try to pivot and deal with that. So I love that you're trying to educate people ahead of time. I think that's smart. Yeah.
And it needed to happen for me to feel like I was fulfilling my purpose. And I kept wondering what the perfect way to do it was. And I didn't want to let me tell you, I did not want to be a content creator. Like, no, I tried to pay people to do it for me. Like, please do. And then no one would do it. Like, I couldn't find it. And I think that was, again, the universe saying like, you will do it yourself. And so
it's such a hyper specific topic, though. I bet a lot of people, unless it's something that they already have a deep knowledge and or passion for, like I wouldn't want to wade into it for fear that I would say something wholly inappropriate or just wrong.
Yeah.
So I touch on that a lot as well. And I approach it from both sides. One side is I try to give you things that have the best chance of being inoffensive. And then on the other hand, I tell people who are grieving, people are going to say offensive things that they don't, with not that intention.
For
right?
sure.
They're saying it to comfort you, and they're reaching for the first thing, and we're not taught about this stuff, and it's in the moment, you are deer in the headlights, what do I say, blah, and that is not always the best thing in any situation.
I can't tell you how many times I've been at a funeral and you're going up to the person who's like the closest to the loved one. As I'm walking up to that person, in my head I'm saying over and over again, don't ask how you're doing, don't ask how you're doing, don't ask. And then as soon as I get up there, hey, how you doing, son of a so this is what you do. You keep your mouth shut and you give them a hug. You keep your mouth shut and you give them a hug. Any of my friends would think,
if they're not huggers, don't hug them.
Yeah, any of my friends would freak out if I hugged them because I'm not a hugger.
Tom's not a hugger. If he just starts reaching out to people, they'd be concerned he was not okay.
I was
So you don't do that.
Yeah. But
you don't do that. Someone else does
but
that.
I've absolutely done that. So like that's not, I'm not trying to do that. And I even know I shouldn't. And like you get up there and you just blank on what to say to someone in a situation like that. And then there you are.
You just feel so powerless as a person who's watching somebody grieve. I always say to people that like, I think that out of all the different things that you can like suffer through, like grief is the worst because it's so lonely. Like even if you like you have a family, like my sister died when I was really young, and I remember so specifically thinking how weird it was that like my parents and I all lived in the same house. We were all grieving the same thing, and yet we all were so alone in our grief because we all experienced it so differently, you know. And I just find
in a way you're all grieving a different person.
Exactly.
Right? Like you're grieving a sister, they're grieving a daughter. Like
precisely.
That's a different that's a different thing, even though the human being is the same person. Like your connective tissue to that human being is very different.
And that's what makes
Very
it
insightful.
and it's
I'm
so
sorry.
hard.
It won't happen again.
But that's what makes it so like it's the worst because you don't know what to say to people
Yeah.
because everybody's so different where they're coming from with grief. I mean, we're not telling you anything you don't know. You're like,
Well, but yes. And so one of the things I suggest is if you're not sure what to say, don't say anything. Just give them a hug or offer to do something like, I'm going to come over and I'm going to clean your bathroom today, bringing it back to the bathroom, right? Like just people want to like get things off their plate, right? And so do little things to get things off their plate. Or, you say, I love you and I'm here for you.
yeah.
Right? That's what they need to hear.
I know sometimes I'll just acknowledge the fact that like, I don't know what to say.
And that's another great one.
Oh, is it? Oh,
All
okay,
right.
I got two.
Yeah.
I got two right.
You are sign up for the death tool course, man.
I have such a weird sense of humor.
I don't think you'd be good at
and
that.
It either totally works for somebody or they'll want to punch me in the face.
Yeah.
And
And so some people will want that. Like some people want levity brought into their
Sure.
space. Like, absolutely. So I would like to think that I would be one of those people. You never know till it's happening, but seat for everybody. I mean, you do what you gotta do. Like people gotta.
Yeah, no, and I think it is important to have levity in that space in an appropriate manner. Like there, you know what I mean? Like it's, don't turn it into a Don Rickles.
No,
roast,
but you yourself, when both your mom and your dad passed away, both dealt with it. You dealt with both of those deaths with levity whenever.
Yeah, I mean, like the eulogy for both of my parents when they passed away separately, it wasn't like a tragic, thing where they both in the. But yeah, like the eulogy I wrote, there were moments where people were laughing. I remember my grandma was mad at me because people were laughing, and I was like, I was telling funny stories about them, like not at their expense, but like, and she was just so mad that I went up there and like had people laughing, and I'm like, but I don't want, like when I die, I want people to remember that I said and did funny things, not be so grief stricken that it's just this constant burden on them for the rest of their life.
Also, your grandma couldn't heir very well, so
There's
she could
that.
just hear the laughing.
Yeah.
So she didn't know what they were laughing
And it took us
at.
forever for her to explain it to us because of the stutter.
But I tell you, my favorite thing, and actually my favorite thing of all of the things that I do is to officiate funerals.
Really?
And I will do yours for you.
I would love
And
that.
I will make it funny.
That would be
And-
great.
And I will I will just honor you in the way that you
That
are
would
meant
be.
to be.
Can I tell you a funny story? When my mother passed away, of the funeral director injecting levity and some very dark levity. Like he knew who I was. Like he had figured me out.
Yeah.
My dad showed up to my mother's funeral, and they've been divorced for years. It was not a good one, and barely spoke. And but my dad showed up like respectfully, like his presence was not the problem at all. And he shows up and he was dressed fine, but he's like, oh my, all of a sudden I feel out of place. And he's talking to me and the funeral director. He's like, I feel really out of place because I don't have a suit jacket on. He's like, and I had one on and I never wear a suit jacket. And he's like, I just assumed there's no way you're going to wear one and I'd be okay. And I don't want people to think that like the ex-husband showed up and isn't being respectful. And I was like, Dad, it's not a big deal. I don't think anybody's thinking that. And the funeral director's like, well, I've got a sports coat you can borrow if you want.
I knew where that was going already.
Yeah. Well, for the listeners. And my dad's like, no, I'm fine. He's like, well, that's good because it doesn't sew up in the back. And I'm just like, I hate to say favorite moment at a funeral, but like, but I was very grateful for that moment.
Yeah.
Sure. And that meant also that funeral director was being human in that moment with you. And
for sure. Like
that's
it's
a beautiful thing.
But I also know I'm like, ooh, that was a big roll of the dice there, buddy. Like that could have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that, but I'm
Sure.
very conservative in the things that I.
Well, it's one of those things where you're better safe than sorry.
For
but
sure.
Again, I think he knew how I was and how I had been navigating the process. But I was honestly very grateful for that moment.
Honestly, and not everybody can pull it off anyway. I mean, I tell Tom all the time, like if I say the exact same things that Tom says, like I come off as a like every time. We can say the exact same words and I can even smile while I'm saying it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. People have that gift. I don't have that gift.
Yeah.
But back to everything you're doing. So I think also we never kind of circled back around to like Peloton and your
put it together.
Yeah, put them together for me.
So something I recommend people doing something with your grief is very powerful, right? Because you're taking that emotion and you're literally like making energy with it and getting it out, right? And that's a wonderful way. And I don't have to tell Peloton people that's what's happening on that bike. You go to Reddit. I mean, on July 27th, someone put, I think in Reddit was like, in the main Peloton group, what one ride do you go back to when you are feeling down and need to feel all your feels, right? So that the bike is such a beautiful thing. And maybe I want to say this, you don't need the bike to be a part of the Peloton community. Any of that stuff helps. But just how many times have I cried on that bike? How many times am I like just working through, or even you don't even know you're working through something. And one of the instructors says something and it's like, and you just cry and you feel so good after, right? So it's one of the reasons that I love the Peloton, but not the bike. The bike is the tool, but the way that the whole system has been created to create community so you don't feel alone, hand on your back, right? You have all these people. I see so many people saying bringing to the Peloton tribes what they're going through. You see like the specific tribes that are dealing with, big life issues and they're gathering together to support each other. So it's Peloton is so much bigger than the equipment. And I want people to know that. And you can get that through the app and you can get that through these offshoot communities.
For sure.
You when you sweat it out, like you're putting your emotions somewhere, whether that's, riding or yoga or strength training, like some people, muscle through it, all of that. It's just such a beautiful community that's been created. And I'll tell you my mantra, my business or my mission statement is to create a community of empowered grievers who intend to save the world by living well and dying better. And Peloton does all of that. And then I'm going to add that little, how do you die better part? I'm going to help you with that as you're riding that bike.
I love that.
That's great.
So do you have a favorite instructor that you go to over and over again?
I mean, so Christine, right, is maybe a lot of them make you cry, but she's so adept at digging in. And then you weren't expecting it. And so it's it's not even the mood. So I love the idea of the mood rides, right? Of, the sad and even the heated. Those are great. The mental health one. There's a lot of great rides that point to that. But Christine will just dig it out of you at any ride. You're just I'm just here to do my power zone. So I love her for that, but I also love her aesthetic is very similar to my aesthetic. Her music choices are very aligned with my music choices.
Got a lot of new wave 80s going on there.
New wave, dark wave.
Just as long as there's waving. Surf music. Wait, different kind of wave.
That's a different wave.
I mean, speaking of surfers, I do love Dennis. So I'm a power zone packer. So I'm big on structure. So I love
that makes sense.
Just that's pretty much the rides that I take are power zone rides, and so I really appreciate all of those instructors. But Christine for the feels.
Got it.
I'm just curious, because you deal with grief so frequently, where do you go to deal with grief?
Mm-hmm. The bike, the gym.
Yeah.
Right here, this is my little meditation chair that I sit in. Taking walks, I think that my car, I think that any space that feels safe for you to do so. And then I do really resonate with that idea of physicality while grieving. And yeah, I'll bring it up to that. There's been moments in my life where I have had something very acute grief, like loss. And I've done movement that has been really healing. And I just felt it transmute that energy into something very positive and uplifting and like feeling lighter afterwards. And so I rely on that. And then my community, right? And so I have different communities that I would grieve different things with.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Is there, normally we ask people if they have advice for newbies on the bike, but I'm just curious. I'm going to pivot.
Oh,
She loves when I pivot. She always gets very worried. If there was one piece of advice you could give to people just about grief and death in general, what would that be? Just one kind of overarching
I approve.
nugget.
I approve of the pivot.
Okay.
Allow it. That's it. Allow it.
Allow it.
Because we spend so much time pretending that it's not there, and it will come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will.
It will come out. And so if it comes, welcome it, because it's there. Your emotions are there for a reason.
Right.
They're not there to fight. And when you integrate them, you become a more powerful person.
I just have to share that I've been doing EMDR therapy. I got hit by a car in February.
I know. I was going to say, I'm so glad you're okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But I was really struggling with being scared all the time of like in the car. But I have found we've not only processed that, but we've been reprocessing some other stuff from my childhood and things like that. And it's kind of fascinating to me because through the years, I've just had to be so like in control of just my life. And it didn't occur to me that like I was also like trying to be in control of like every time I was emotional. And so sometimes that allowing those emotions to come out also just means it's okay to like let yourself cry. Like you don't even have to just give yourself permission to feel it. It's also just letting it out is the feeling it. And I think sometimes I didn't make the connection between those two things. I think there might be other people out there that don't. So I just had to share that.
And I love EMDR. I think it's great. And I'm glad that you are getting to revisit those things that have been in there, right? And so I think we all have those things, right? That's what I was saying in the beginning. I see the way we all have things that we have not addressed.
Yes.
And I want to just be, if you need a sign, here's your sign. You should feel it. You should feel it. You'll feel better after you feel it. And better is relative. Like relative, it doesn't mean it feels good.
Right.
But it means that it's meant to be felt.
Yes.
It's like exercise.
Yeah. Doesn't always feel good in that moment. Feel good, but then when you're done, you always feel better. Like feel better for having done it. I'll put it that way.
There's a difference between feeling better and feeling all better.
That's right.
Right?
Yes. So I'm curious what your leaderboard name is, if you want people to know what your leaderboard name is.
I do, but like, don't judge the amount of rides. I know I have space in between now and when this airs, and so I'm gonna use that space.
Lots of 5-minute classes.
She's like, she's recommitting to the process.
No, I just need the dots. I was so obsessed with those dots when I first got that bike. Let me tell you.
Well, you've already said you like the dots close together, so
I do like the dots close, and I like them blue and every day. But I mean, actually, like I got COVID, and that's what knocked me off.
That'll do it.
I was doing really great, and then I got COVID, and then it did get me back on the bike, but I've never regained the amount of. I'm not back to the FTP I had before then, and then it's been a long time. These are days because I love that song.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Awesome. And before we let you go, where can everybody find you on Instagram? You keep talking about your Instagram, but I don't think you've actually said the handle.
Mm-hmm. Well, Morning Space, you can find me on
that's right. You mentioned the name of the blog. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So morningspace.com, Morning Space on Instagram, MOURN, right? Morning status. And I'm creating a couple little freebies for my Peloton people. And as my mission is to build a community of empowered grievers, I created the hashtag empowered grievers.
I love that.
So if anyone wants to join this community that I'm trying to build, you can use that hashtag, and you can check my link in bio, and I'll have a couple little things for my Peloton community that I love so much.
That's really nice. Thank you.
You know where you would have came in handy in the world of Peloton?
Where's that?
Is when Daniel McKenna left.
The grieving.
Yeah,
the grieving.
I know it's a different type of grief, but there was lots of people very upset.
Well, and so I want to say this. I see a lot of anger in the world over a lot of things. And I know that a lot of that root cause is grief. And so a lot of the bad behavior that we see sometimes on the comment section, which I steer clear of, does sometimes have that root in grief. And so I try to give people grace for that. But yeah, that was a real tough time. And I understood a loss is a loss, right? A loss is a loss. It doesn't matter if it's a Peloton instructor, a movie star, a favorite book, a loss is a loss and deserves attention.
So true.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been fascinating and fun, as much as fun as death can be. I don't not trying to be flippant, but it was very enjoyable.
It was.
Well, I love to flip, you don't expect me, honestly, death care professional. This is not what's happening in your mind. So I like to, it is starting to happen actually. So
that's wonderful.
Yes. Well, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me be here. I appreciate it.
Of course.
The Clip Out.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/CrystalDO'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and the Peloton leaderboard at ClipOutCrystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/TheClipOut. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget, there's a bonus episode waiting for you over at patreon.com/TheClipOut. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling
and running
and rowing.